identities, and orientations. And yes, all generations.
All Souls Tulsa and All Souls Everywhere members try to live out what we call love beyond belief.
Bring your whole self each week to our worship services, Humanist Hour, and programs for families and adults.
Empower your children with a religious education that helps them make their own decisions about what they believe.
Connect and learn from our community of diverse experiences, faith, and cultures.
Sing with others in one of our many choirs.
Explore your creativity and find healing in the chapter of your life that you're in right now.
At All Souls, our members care for each other through the highs and the lows of our lives.
Live out love beyond belief here in Tulsa, across our nation, and around the world.
Join us. Become a member of the All Souls family in our centennial year.
At All Souls, our members care for each other through the joys and the sorrows of life.
All Souls Tulsa and All Souls Everywhere.
Join today at allsoulschurch.org.
Morning on this beautiful spring day. I think the organ sounds especially sweet this morning, as this will be Mike's last Sunday with us. So yeah, a little pause is good. We'll talk more about that, but I just want you to tune your ear to that beautiful organ music this morning. It's wonderful to see the children coming in. Welcome to all of you online. If you're joining us online, if you'd start right away sharing your prayers, your sorrows, and joys, we'll be able to light a candle for you in just a little while. When Reverend Gerald Davis prays for us, we have a message from Reverend Marlon this morning, a story from Shannon Boston. So gather your children and your families around your screens at home. If you are new and joining us for the first time in the sanctuary or online, please take a moment to fill out one of these Connect cards. Having this information will help us stay connected with you. We look forward to getting to know you. So if you would please stand and introduce yourselves to each other and say hello, and Reverend Davis will come forward and lead us in this morning's Invocation and Covenant. Whenever you want. I think yeah.
Oh. Good morning, church. Hey, this is indeed a day that God has made. Let us then rejoice in it and be glad. And let us count our many blessings. We are grateful for the capacity to see, hear, feel, and understand. We are grateful for the incredible gift of life. And we are especially grateful for the ties of love which binds us together, giving dignity meaning, worth, and joy to all our days. Please join me in our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome to All Souls, where we love beyond belief.
We're going to light our chalice here in this space. And if you are with us online and you have a chalice at home or a candle and you want to light with us, we hope you will. It's great to have folks with us from all across the country and even other countries around the world. Let us light our chalice with these words from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
Good morning, church. I have a story for you today. This is from the ancient Hindu text of the Bhagavad Gita. It is called Perhaps. Shayad, a devotee of Krishna, and his companion lost their way in a forest. And the companion despaired, but Shayad said, "Maybe some good will come of this." And they came upon a stranger who needed Shayad's help, and the stranger turned out to be a prince who gave Shayad a beautiful horse. And the neighbors praised his good luck and said, "How blessed you are to have such a magnificent animal." And Shayad said, "Who's to say whether this is a blessing or a curse?" And the next day, the horse ran away. And the neighbor said, "How horrible that you were cursed with the loss of your horse." And Shayad replied, "Who's to say whether this is a blessing or a curse? Perhaps some good will come of it." And the next day, the horse returned, leading 5 wild horses. "You were right," the neighbors exclaimed. "The curse was a blessing in disguise. Now you're blessed with 6 horses." And Shayad replied, "Perhaps, but who's to say whether this is a blessing or a curse?" The next day, his only son tried to ride one of the wild horses, and he was thrown to the ground and broke his leg. The neighbors said, "How wise you were. Your blessing really was a curse." Shayad replied, "There may be good yet. Who's to say whether this was a blessing or a curse?" The next day, soldiers came through the village and took every able-bodied boy to fight in a war where it was almost certain that all would be killed. Because Shayad's son was injured, he was the only one not taken. "How blessed you are to have your son," the neighbors said. Shayad replied, "Who's to say?" Here ends our story for all ages. I would ask all of our children and youth to come with me now, and we can discuss what we might make of our lives with all of our blessings and our curses.
Blessing or curse? Sometimes it's hard to know. I'd light a candle this morning for those children, all of our children and their families, and just the larger expanding circles of children out around this city, around the country, and all around the world, especially the children in the Ukraine this morning. And I light a candle for Mike at the organ up in our balcony. And also for his family and friends on the death of Mike's cousin, David Thornton, who died last Wednesday at the age of 64. Also a candle for Dorothy Shakota and her daughter Sam. It was on this day 40 years ago that Dorothy became a mother. A candle for Kathy Blackmore, for her friend and former boss, Ricky Jones. For Angelina Blackman, Krista is hoping she finds her beloved puppy Finn. For Stacy Lee, whose daughter Catherine is recovering from COVID and has lost her voice. She's an amazing singer. For Jeannie Lee, one of our online hosts and Everywhere members, for her cousin Vivian, who is recently diagnosed with breast cancer. For Andrea Bain, whose father is struggling. Candle of joy for Mike Workman, a gratitude for a positive direction in his granddaughter's life, Crystal. Candle for all the prayers of our viewers and those in the sanctuary who are not speaking aloud. A prayer for Beltane from Rebecca Lawson, our other online host. And I'd invite you now to speak aloud the names of people you are carrying with you in this sanctuary of memory and light and hope this morning, and I will light a candle in their honor. Lawrence Rosenberg. And as we enter into silence together, we're reclaiming a pre-COVID tradition in this congregation. And I will invite those of you for whom this Sunday is close to the anniversary of a death, or if you've experienced a death in the last year, to please rise in honor of those you've loved and lost. You can be seated as Reverend Davis begins to pray. Thank you.
You may be seated. O gracious God, Spirit of life and love, in this place we are safe. It is a sanctuary inviting us to be our best selves in this environment of love and peace. Because we are safe, we can be vulnerable. We can allow ourselves to feel the pain, the regret, the forces that cause us to not be our best selves, and to admit that, and to know that that is not all we are. In this place, we find what we need, that everlasting love that reminds us that we are of love, that we may have moments when we feel this strength coming through us to be giving, to offer ourselves to help one another. And so we are glad that in this sanctuary, we can be filled up with that spirit that moves us to aspire to be the best we can be together, knowing that it's not about me, but it's about we. Keep us in this place of love so that when we move away from this place of sanctuary, we carry it with us. We don't feel alone, but we allow ourselves to be part of one another. Keep us then, gracious God, Spirit of love, keep us in this place of love, and know that always you are with us because you are us. And so we pray in your holy name. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe.
You sound like a choir of 300 people. You just, incredible. Thank you to our musicians, to Rick Fortner, to Mike McCrary on the organ. And wow, how glorious to have music and choral music again after everything that we have been through together. Wow. Well, is it a blessing or a curse? We have to be careful when something happens about what is this? Is this a good thing? Is this not a good thing? Perhaps it's good, perhaps it's not. Because it obviously depends on what happens next. Life is always changing. Everything is always in flux. The story is never over until it's over. And, if you miss your plane, it's a terrible thing, except if the plane ends up crashing, and then it's the best thing that's ever happened to you, right? Conversely, if you win the lottery, it's like, oh, I won the lottery, I won the lottery. And then when you find out that suddenly the money ruins all your relationships with the people you love, and you find yourself miserable, maybe even a year or two later, broken, miserable, you get the idea. The word that I want to share with you this morning, which is a word that, it's a small little word, and yet it has the potential to change how we feel about things and change how we look at things. It's the word yet, Y-E-T, yet. It's a word that acknowledges, hey, I'm not where I want to be, but the story isn't over. We might say, I'm not as strong as I want to be yet. Meaning that I'm still holding out the possibility, Gerald, that I'm going to be stronger one day. A person might think, I don't know much about music or theater or art or the Civil War or whatever yet, because maybe I'm going to decide to study a little bit about it or learn more about it. It's a powerful world. It's not magical thinking, though. I want to be clear. It's not as if after you get to a certain age, I can say, well, I'm not as tall as I want to be yet. Right? That's self-delusion at my age. If anything, I'm starting to shrink a little bit. Even after we come to the point that we can't grow any taller, our hearts can grow wider, our minds can grow broader, our spirits can grow more whole. There are always ways that we can grow. There are so many moments, that I can think of when I wish that I were a better leader or a better father or a better friend. And in those moments, I have to accept that I am who I am with all my faults and my flaws, and it is what it is. But at the same time, I can also remember it's not the end of the story. As long as I have breath, I still have a chance to do more, to do better, to land where I hope to land. It's hard to know how things are going to turn out. In the end, my mistakes as a leader might create new opportunities that would not have existed otherwise, or failing as a parent might become, our failure as a parent might become part of that child's discovery of who they are in the world and what they have to offer. Maybe your parents failing in some way helped you see something in yourself or the world that you wanted to tend to. Bo Lazoff tells a story about a woman who he knew who had a really painful upbringing. Her mother was just not a kind person and really quite abusive, and the woman became a midwife to give other newborns a better start than she had had. With great commitment and deep compassion, she has ushered in many babies into this world. If not for her horrible birth, this fulfilling career may not have ever have occurred to her. We've all been raised and taught by other people. They may have taught us a lot through their wisdom and their example, but I also have to bet that we've learned some things because of their mistakes and their shortcomings. We might say, I never want to do that way when I get older, when I become a parent, or what have you, after having experienced something from a coach or somebody in our lives who's taught us. We learn from people's strengths, and we learn from their weaknesses, and we learn from their mistakes as well. In some ways, knowing about others that their failures can lead to good things sometimes in our lives, it also helps us remember that even our faults, even when we fall, even when we don't do our best, that we don't know what the end of the story is for those who might have been impacted by that change. And that's the key. We have to find a way to live in this tension between accepting who we are in any and every given moment and accepting what our reality is, while also remaining open to the possibility that exists in the future that we might be surprised. We might still be surprised. Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen is a psychiatrist who works with people who've had terminal illness, who are dealing with a terminal illness. And she has a story about a 24-year-old cancer patient who she was seeing, who had one of his legs removed at the hip to save his life. Now, when she began to see him, he was very angry and bitter, and he had a deep sense of injustice and hatred even toward people who were well. It seemed so unfair. How come this happened to him at such a young age? Dr. Remen worked with him around his feelings of rage by using painting and imagery and psychotherapy. After 2 years, he began making small shifts. He started to go out and visit other patients who themselves were suffering severe physical losses. Once he visited a woman who was about his age. It was a hot day. He was wearing running shorts, so his artificial leg showed as he entered the hospital room. The woman was so depressed about the loss of her breasts that she wouldn't even look at him, wouldn't even pay attention to him. The nurses had left the radio playing, probably to try to cheer her up. He was so desperate to get her attention that he unstrapped his leg and he began dancing around the room on one leg, snapping his fingers to the music. She looked at him in amazement and then burst out laughing and said, "Man, if you can dance, I can sing." After he told Dr. Remen the story, she took out some of the drawings that he had made over the years. One was of a vase with a big dark crack in it. She had asked him to draw a picture of his body, and this is what he drew. It seemed to him that this vase could never function as a vase again. This time, 2 years later, when he looked at it, he said, "Oh, this one isn't finished." And he proceeded to pick up a yellow crayon, and putting his finger on the crack, he said, "You see here where it's broken? This is where the light comes through." And with the yellow crayon, he drew light rays streaming from the crack in his body. I want to invite you to try using the word "yet" at the end of sentences whenever you can. You might say to yourself, "I haven't fallen in love or haven't felt I've been loved the way I want to yet." You might say that I haven't been able to stay sober yet. Or my child or spouse or coworker hasn't been able to kick their bad habit yet. Can you feel how different it is when you add those three little words at the end of the sentence? It opens possibility. I have not completely healed from that traumatic experience yet. I haven't gotten my book or my article or my poem or my photograph or my cartoon published yet. It's not about being disingenuous about the present or fooling ourselves. It's about accepting what is, but keeping our hearts and our minds open to the fact that everything is always changing. And there's reason to believe that especially if we apply ourselves, if we care, if we put our hearts behind it, that things can get better. After 2 years of a pandemic and all the confusion and isolation and illness and death and the fear and the misinformation that we've all experienced, it's important that we're able to honor what's real today, how hard it's been, the losses we've sustained, the ways we've been and remain in many ways disconnected, while also remembering that tomorrow will be another day. And the story is not finished, and I truly believe that the best is yet to come. The piece of music that you're about to hear from our choir was commissioned for the organist and for the adult choir in 1984, and it lifts up the words of our blessed covenant, which begins with love. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. I love you. Amen.
Are a blessing, and that would be our choir and Mike McCrary on the organ. And I have a few announcements for you this morning. Most importantly is that our congregational meeting is today at 1 o'clock in this sanctuary. So I hope you have breakfast or brunch plans, and then you will return for a congregational meeting. We have a lot to discuss with you today. It is also online. That's true. We're going to do a hybrid congregational meeting here in the sanctuary, but hope to see many of you back here at 1 o'clock. Our offering today is going to Diverse, Revolutionary, Unitarian, Universalist, Multicultural Ministries. That is a long name, isn't it, Marilyn? Or DRUM for short, which has actually existed for decades upon decades. It's not a new organization. We are co-sponsoring a special worship service this Wednesday. There's more information on the back of your order of service. The sermon this Wednesday is entitled, You Can Count on This. So in just a few minutes, we'll receive this morning's offering, and it will go to support Drum. I encourage you to read about it and tune in if you can. A few other announcements. It's so exciting to be with the choir in the sanctuary, remembering what church is like a couple years ago. Young at Heart Luncheon and Games Day is starting again this Thursday. People gather for games at 11:30 in the morning here at church. Gather for lunch, at 11:30, and then many people stay to play games together. It's a wonderful way to make new friends at church. If you're planning to come to church next Sunday for Mother's Day, which I hope you will, please remember to bring a flower. We'll be celebrating our flower communion, which is a ritual in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, one with much meaning, which we'll be learning about next week. So flower communion next Sunday, May 8th. Please bring a flower. Monday, May 9th is our golf tournament. You can sign up with a team to play, or you can sign up as an individual and be placed on a team. This year, our golf tournament is in honor and memory of Roger Ames and Bill Jensen. That's on Monday, May 9th. And please mark your calendars for Sunday, May 22nd for a Cherub Children's and Youth Choir concert, which is so exciting. That's on the 24th. More news, curse or blessing, or both, and I know this is good news for Reverend Marlin, who will be going on sabbatical for the months of May, June, and July. He'll be back in August, and he has a very special announcement to share with all of us this morning.
Yes, thank you all for allowing me to have a 3-month sabbatical. It's a great gift that the congregation offers to me as a senior minister. I've been here 22 years. I've never taken a sabbatical. Many people have encouraged me to, and I'm really looking forward to taking some time to be with my family and being back in August. So early August, I'll be back, and we'll launch a new church year as the calendar year starts. And we've got some exciting plans coming up for the new year, visioning for our church, visioning for the expansion of our church, and lots of things that we'll be doing. And I want to let you know that while I'm on sabbatical, someone who's well known to many of us in this congregation, Randy Lewis, is going to be back here. He's coming back next Sunday. He'll be here. And so we'll see Randy Lewis and our ministerial intern, our beloved ministerial intern, Corey Lovell, will be staying through the summer as well. So we've got Barbara and all of them, and Gerald and Carlton and our pastoral care chaplains, Doug Inhofe and Kathy Edwards. You're in really good hands. Hopefully you won't decide you don't need me anymore because you're in such good hands. But I look forward to being away and coming back. But somebody who is leaving and not exactly coming back, although I hope he'll come back to play organ on some special occasions. Mike, would you come forward? We want to present you with a small gift. Mike has been playing the organ in churches for 55 years. You've been in this church for, it says 11, I think it's 12 years at least. It's 11 or 12 years, but for half or more of my ministry with this church. And Mike, you've blessed us. Also the accompanist for the adult choir. The adult choir, you've just helped make our services so special. When people have had memorial services here, blessing their loved ones, when people have had weddings, and just all of our special occasions, Easter, Christmas Eve. I mean, times that we all remember, you've been here and you've helped enliven them with your music and touched all of our hearts in so many different ways. We're so thankful. You've been here for half or more of my ministry. I don't even remember very much of the ministry before you came and were a part of this. We want to offer you a chalice, a small version of our chalice that we light here in the church with the engraving of the church. It's made from the copper of our steeple. But Mike, would you like to say a few words? Okay, please.
Good morning, church. I don't do that as well as Gerald does, but good morning. I just want to thank you all. This has been such a wonderful experience. I came here as a substitute and kind of forgot to leave. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank, first of all, the congregation. My favorite thing to do in church is play for you all to sing. There's nothing that gives me more joy than playing congregational hymns. But I really want to thank the choir. They have been so wonderful, so inspirational, so loving. most people don't know this, but when people come to choir rehearsal on Tuesday night, they're usually pretty tired. And by the time they leave, they are totally rejuvenated. And so you have given me that gift for however many years. There's apparently some disagreement on that, but thank you for that gift. And the last thing I want to do, my mother and my sister and my husband are here. And I want to especially thank my mother. She was the one that always set the timer to make sure I practiced enough and went to my recitals and everything that a good parent does. And so I really want to thank her for starting me on this course that ended up here. So, my mother needs to stand up apparently. So, my dad, the only thing he ever wanted me to learn to do when I was playing the piano was to play hymns and boogie woogie. And I got one of them, I didn't get the other one. But anyway, thank you all. I just wanted to let you know one last thing, that the prelude this morning was the very first piece I ever played on an organ recital. And so I thought today was a good day to bring it back out. So thank you all very much.
Beautiful. Mike has one more piece, the postlude, and I'm going to ask us all after the benediction to sit and listen to the postlude. And our children will come back in as the postlude is playing. Right now, we're going to receive our offering. I mean, one thing you don't know about Mike is he donated back to the church a big chunk of what we paid him every year, just because he loves what we do and he loves what we're about, and he's so generous and so supportive. Let us now receive our offering for Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Ministries.
Chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah. But if I did, well, really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter what you've heard. The holy or the broken, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I told the truth, I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So as we conclude our service, I invite, if you have a chalice at home, you can extinguish it. Barbara's going to extinguish our chalice here with these words, but I invite you, if you're able to stay, if you're in the sanctuary, we have refreshments in Emerson Hall this morning, and I think there's a cake for Mike. I don't know if it has his face on it or a musical note or what, but you'll probably have it all cut up before I ever get in there. But I hope you'll stick around and celebrate Mike and celebrate being together and have some refreshments. If you're online, I hope if you're on Zoom especially, stick around for some conversation and fellowship online. We're glad you've tuned in from wherever you're tuning in. But as we go forth into this beautiful day, we don't know where or how the story will end, but we know that we have the breath of life within us. Let us make the most of this day. And after hearing this beautiful postlude, please go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen. So we're going to... We love you. Thank you for making this beautiful. Mike, I hope you see this beautiful tribute our children have made for you. Again, go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.